Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you're joining us from. My name is Ruth and I'm going to be hosting this free webinar offered by Biggerplate today called An Introduction to Mind Mapping and Biggerplate. So it's about 4 o'clock where I am. Thank you all for waiting. It's great to have so many of you here. Just before we get started and to check that everything's working, could you let me know, just to familiarise yourself with the GoToWebinar platform, and write me a little message just to say where you're from and if you can hear me correctly and if you can see my screen. So hopefully you can see a screen with my mind map presentation on it. So if you just want to let me know whether everything is working your end and where you're from, it'd be great to meet you. I always really enjoy reading the messages that we get from our attendees, seeing where in the world you're joining us from. So hopefully on the right-hand side of your screen you have a panel where you can write your questions and let me know that you can hear me okay. I'm going to take no news is good news. Let me just see here. Can you all hear me? Hi there, Jan from Belgium. Oh, great. I was just in Brussels at the weekend. You can see my screen and hear me perfectly. Thank you very, very much. So I'm going to assume that everybody else can as well. So let's get started to the webinar. So first of all, a huge welcome to you, as I've already said, to this introduction webinar to mind mapping and Biggerplate. As I said before, my name is Ruth and I'm the Community and Marketing Manager for Biggerplate.com, and you can connect with me on Twitter using the two Twitter handles there, or you can visit my Biggerplate profile on biggerplate.com/Ruth Walker. Welcome also to Biggerplate, and one thing we must mention at the start of all of our webinars, just to make it clear that we do not make mind map software and we do not sell mind map software. So if you think that I'm going to try and sell you those things today, then you're mistaken. So there's no agenda for me to sell you anything. Sorry, I'm just checking the screen. We've got Marco from Bolivia. Hello, Marco. Great to meet you. And Jennifer from Holland. Perfect. So we've got a real international mix of listeners today. Welcome. It's great to have you all on board. So I'm just going to go through what we refer to as a POST, which stands for Purpose, Outcomes, Structure, and Timing. So the purpose of today's webinar is to welcome you to our community, provide some guidance, and answer any questions you might have. So whether you're new to mind mapping or whether you're new to Biggerplate, we just want to welcome you and give you some guidance on both of those things. So hopefully by the end of today, you'll come away learning about mind mapping and understanding Biggerplate.com. So I'll do my very best to do that for you. In terms of the structure, the presentation is going to run as follows. I'm going to talk to you about mind map basics to start off with. I'm then going to talk about Biggerplate basics, and then there'll be plenty of time at the end for any questions you may have. So please feel free to answer any questions as we go along or save them for the end. I'll be managing the questions, so I'll be jumping between the presentation and the questions box. But please feel free to answer any questions you may have. And in terms of the timing, hopefully I won't be talking for too long, but I'll aim to wrap up within the hour. So I'll hopefully present for about 45 minutes, which allows us 15 minutes for questions. Could be longer, could be shorter, but we'll see how we get on. I'm just going over to the questions box again. Hello, Jackie from Denver. Very nice to have you on board. So, mind mapping. Mind mapping is what we refer to as the information jigsaw puzzle. So what do I mean by this? Well, if you think of a jigsaw puzzle and think of the pieces that you have in this jigsaw puzzle, and most of us in our daily lives have this challenge, which is to put together a puzzle of lots of different pieces. So if you think about a traditional jigsaw puzzle and now think about your normal working life or personal life, your job is kind of like putting together lots of different puzzle pieces. And the pieces of the puzzle might be ideas, information, tasks, people, reminders, data, meetings, anything you like, any of those sorts of things. And our job, as I said, is to try and put these pieces together, make sense of them, and then actually do some meaningful work with them. So these are the pieces of the puzzle, or at least some of the pieces of the puzzle that we have to try and build. The challenge, therefore, if you compare this to a traditional jigsaw puzzle, is that there is no box. So when you build a traditional puzzle, you use the lid of the box to show you what the image is that you're supposed to be putting together. But the problem in our working world, or even at school, is that there isn't always a very clear picture to build towards. So we don't always know what the end product is going to look like. When you start to build a traditional puzzle, you usually start with the corners and the edges, and that helps you to understand the reference points, the outer limits of the puzzle that you're trying to build. So if we translate this into our working world, the edges are not always very clear, or sometimes they don't even exist. Projects will just keep growing and developing into new projects, so very rarely is our jigsaw puzzle at work very neatly defined by the outer edges. So the colours are not always obvious in our information jigsaw either. So traditionally, you might look for blue pieces, and that's your sky, and the green pieces, and that's your grass. So you might start to join them together and batch them together. But one of the problems we have is that much of our information these days is buried. It's buried in emails, in files, in computers, or in scraps of paper, and it's not always obvious which bits of information belong together. So the colours of the pieces are not obvious. So it's not necessarily about my maps being about colour, but it's about seeing that the links between things can be very difficult in our day-to-day lives. There's also the question as well as, do we have all the pieces? So it's not like a traditional puzzle where you know that there are 500 pieces in the box and you've got to build that puzzle. In real life, we have 420 pieces here and another 30 pieces which might be thrown at us tomorrow. We might be missing pieces, or other people might have some of our pieces. So there's also a question of trying to build this puzzle with what may or may not be all of the pieces or all of the right pieces. So again, we've got to sometimes consider that we might have pieces from another puzzle that we're trying to juggle in our life. And that takes us on to our final challenge. We could always try to build multiple puzzles at any one time in work or at school, studying, or even at home. And at any given time, we're trying to assemble many different things, trying to put together lots of pictures to understand what we are dealing with and to start to work on it. So these are the challenges we have. So what can we do to help? Why am I talking about jigsaw pieces and puzzles? Well, we can, on a day-to-day basis, manage this jigsaw puzzle a little better. So the first thing we've got to do is to capture all of the pieces that we've got. So these might be pieces in our head or in other folders, buried in emails, information in lists, scraps of paper tucked around in your back pocket. So all these ideas or bits of information that we know are bouncing around our brain. The important thing is we want to try and pull all of this information together into one place so we can put that into the big picture. So having spoken about a bigger picture, the key thing is, and this is where the value of mind mapping is really, really great, is we're going to start making that information more visible and visual. And that is going to help us to connect the dots, to see which pieces belong together more easily. So again, if all of our information is buried in emails and to-do lists, it's not always easy to see which items belong together. Which piece of information might help you tackle another particular task? We don't always know. So making things more visual and visible is going to help us connect up the dots and also to develop the context around particular subjects. And this really helps us to see that total picture. We can't just consider one piece of information in isolation. We've got to think about all of the other pieces of information that relate to it before we can necessarily start to work with it and start to make sense of it. So that applies whether you are studying at high school or even working as the CEO of a company. So importantly, we want to be able to see the total picture. We need to be able to zoom out to see the whole picture and zoom in to see the details. And you can see, even in this mind map, that we are here, right down on a particular detail. But we can also zoom out further if we wanted to see a bit more of the bigger picture. So that's a really valuable asset of most mind mapping software tools, is the ability to move between that high-level strategic view or top-level view to that big picture, from the big picture view of things right down into the details. So finally, we've got to create a system that has got to help us to stay flexible. So we need something in building the puzzle that's going to help us to remain flexible. And what we need, therefore, is an adaptable planning tool. It's really important that we don't become too fixed on written plans and documents, because what we really need to be able to do on a daily basis is to handle new information. We need to be able to add new information to our planning. And therefore what we need is an adaptable planning tool. We need to be able to contextualize it and understand where it fits in the schematic we're trying to build. So when a new piece of information comes in, we want to be able to have something that's going to help us to understand where that new piece of information fits. And again, this is where mind mapping your information can be really valuable. So that's what we refer to as the information jigsaw puzzle, and this is where we think that mind mapping really helps, to grab all of those pieces, to fit some of them together, and to start building up a picture of what the end thing might look like, even if you're not 100% sure at the moment as to what that might look like. So are there any questions at this point? I'm going to now jump over to a mind map software called XMind, just to give you a demonstration on how mind mapping can be used for a weekly planner. So I'm currently using the software MindMeister to give the presentation, and I'm going to hop over into this software, which is called XMind, to demonstrate how a mind map can help you to capture, group, and build out all of the information. So let's imagine you're at the start of the week and you're listing all the things you've got to do and you're trying to build yourself a weekly plan. I'm just going to throw some ideas onto my mind map here. So I might say, okay, the first thing I've got to do this week is update target sheet. Okay, something we might have to do. What else might I have to do? I might have to write up the minutes from last week's meeting, for example. I then might also have to prepare for meetings this week. Excuse my spelling mistake, this week. What other sort of things might you have to do? You might have to do some marketing, so schedule tweets to go out during the week. You might have to publish a blog post. You might have to prepare your team offsite day, if you're having one of those. What else might you have to do? Follow up, just write that again, offsite day. You might have to do some follow up from workshops. So these are just an example of things that you might be doing on a day-to-day basis, depending on what sort of environment you're working in. So this is where mind mapping becomes quite useful. If we're trying to capture all this information, the next thing we have to do is group them together. So what things actually fit together? Well, I can see here I've got two things that involve meetings. So what I might do is create a separate branch here and call it meetings. That might be the heading. And you can use this software to move this branch into your heading. There we go. So I'll drop them in there, and we've been able to just group together these two things which actually come under the same title of meetings. So when you say prepare for meetings this week, that suggests you have perhaps more than one meeting. So let's just say you have a sales review meeting, and you might have an operations review meeting on a weekly basis. So then you've got two separate meetings that actually you might need to write up the minutes from the sales review meeting from last week, but for the operations one you've already completed, so you don't need to put anything there. So you might have to say prepare for meetings this week. Well, I've got to prepare for both of them, so you might want to say prepare a presentation if you do your meetings with a presentation, and again you might have to do the same thing for your operations review as well. So can you sort of see how we're now just kind of capturing all of our ideas, all of our tasks, but then we're able to just really gather it together and condense it. So I can get rid of this branch here by pressing delete. And there we have our meetings topic of our mind map. So let's have a look at what else we've got. So for example, here we go, targets sheet might go into your sales review. So in which case you can move this into your sales review section here. And this is a feature which is available on all mind mapping softwares, whichever one you decide to use. So let's move on. We've got scheduled tweets and publish blog posts. So again, this might be something that's marketing related. So you might want to say, okay, well, here are all my marketing tasks that I have to do. So tweets might go into marketing, and publish blog posts might go into marketing. But again, you might want to make it slightly clearer for yourself and break it down even more. So if you have different platforms, you might say, right, I've got my Twitter account to manage, I've got my Facebook account to manage, and then you've got your blog platform to manage. So with your blog, you might want to move publish blog post into your blog section here. So it's a reminder that you need to publish that specific blog post. You might say you've got a case study that you need to write up. These are all just hypothetical, which I hope you're finding useful scenarios of how you might want to break down your information. So I'm going to move scheduled tweets into Twitter. And on Facebook, I might say I've got to pay Facebook ad campaign, just as an example. So again, we're gathering all this information that's in our head, all of our to-do lists, and we're just breaking it down to make it more visual and visible. Because essentially, a mind map is a way of visualizing your ideas and information. So how about what else have we got? So we've got follow-up from workshops and team off-site day. So they might not fit into the same category. So you might have events, for example, might be your heading. And you do, as part of your events, you do training workshops. So you might have the next one, which is in July in London, just for example. You might have had one last month, so June in Oxford. And this is the one that you need to do the follow-up for, so I can move that into there. And then you might be having a team off-site day. So again, in my opinion, that comes into events. And you might say, okay, what are the logistics behind this? You need to book travel for all your employees. You might need to book a venue. So these, again, just an example of how you can use mind maps and these branches to really gather all your information together and group it together so that it becomes more manageable. And ultimately, that is the goal of mind maps, is to make your information manageable. So hopefully you're still with me. So far, so good. I'm going to go back over to my other presentation now. So I've given you a demonstration using XMind on how to make yourself a weekly planner using mind maps. And again, the weekly planner was just a demonstration. Later on, I'm going to show you other uses of mind maps. You might already be starting to think, oh yeah, actually I could use that mind map for this project or that project. So I'm now going to talk to you about mind map software. So as I mentioned before, Biggerplate does not make or sell software. So we're not trying to sell you anything, but there's loads of great options out there which we'll be happy to advise you on. There are free options and there are paid options. So for example, this option here, XMind, is free. And it's a really good free tool and gives you everything you could need. But there is the option of paying more to have extra features. MindMeister offer a really good deal for free or paid, and MindMeister, the one I'm using here, is web-based. So really it's up to you to explore your needs. Are you using a Windows or a Mac? Are you working individually or as a team? And are you web-based? So one of the great things about MindMeister, which is the one that I'm using here, is that you can use it and collaborate with anybody basically all over the world as long as you have an internet connection. So for example, on a weekly basis, my team have our weekly reviews, and we might not all be at the same place at the same time, but we can look at the map together and add and contribute as we go along. Every year, just all the time, in fact. There's a shortlist on the Biggerplate website, which I will show you later, where we have a shortlist of our most popular mind map softwares. And these are mind map softwares that have been recommended by our community. So if you're looking at a particular mind map software and it's not listed on the Biggerplate website, we wouldn't recommend it, purely because we don't have enough recommendations from our community. So you're better off trying to look at the ones that are listed, which are most popular on our website. So that's a very brief overview of mind mapping in general. Are there any questions here before I move over to talk about Biggerplate? That's fine. If you have any questions, you can ask me at the end, but hopefully you're still with me so far. So Biggerplate, welcome to Biggerplate. Whether you're new or not, I'm not sure, but we are the home of mind mapping, and we are the home of mind map content, learning, and community. So with regards to content, we provide the world's biggest online mind map library, and that means that we're a sharing platform for users around the world to share their mind map templates and examples with us. We also provide case studies from users of mind mappers all across the world, seeing how people are using mind maps in their day-to-day life for work use or for personal use, and it's really interesting. And finally, every year we publish an annual report. So we send out a survey to all of our mind mappers and get their insights to the mind map community, and we publish this report. So we're really providing a lot of content around mind mapping. Where learning is concerned, well, you are learning right now. You're on one of our webinars. We offer free and paid webinars. We also have an e-learning course which you can access on udemy.com. We offer a course called Mind Mapping for Business Productivity, and they are software specific. So for example, we have a course called XMind for Business Productivity or MindMeister for Business Productivity. If you're new to mind map software and want some tutorials, we also have tutorials on our YouTube channel. So if you search for Biggerplate, you'll find tutorials for all of the main mind map softwares. As I said, we offer webinars, either free or paid. We offer paid webinars for training purposes, for companies, for example, or we also have webinars which are part of our business club, which I will talk to you about shortly. We also offer training and facilitation, so we use mind mapping as a tool for facilitating workshops or meetings in large companies, and we also do training workshops for the public or in-house as well. So an example of the training workshops we've done in the past has been mind maps for startups and SMEs, or mind mapping for marketing. And finally, we have a huge global community. Right now we have over 130,000 users, I should correct that, and that's ever growing. On average, we get about 2,000 new users to the site, which really is added value for you, not just for us, but for you. The more people we get sharing maps and sharing their stories and uses around mind mapping, the more we can grow our community and really engage with you. Our community is wide-ranging. Even today on this webinar, as we've seen, we have people from many different countries, many different job roles, and in lots of industries. And the best thing about our mind map content is that it's free. So this webinar is free, and it's free for you to sign up to biggerplate.com, for you to upload a mind map, and for you to download a mind map. There are no limits. So when it comes to exploring the library, you can search the library, you can browse, and you can download any of the mind maps that are there. So you can either download the mind map in the original file, so i.e. in the XMind file or the MindMeister file, or you can download a mind map in PDF form. Not all maps are currently available to download in PDF form, but some of the most popular ones are. So if you've not got any software installed, which you would need in order to download a file, you can perhaps download the PDF just to kind of explore and see. However, one tip would be to watch for compatibility. If you do have a mind map software at the moment, not all mind maps which are on Biggerplate are compatible with your software. And if you go onto our FAQ section of our blog, you'll be able to see which mind maps are compatible with which software. So I'm going to give you a demonstration now of the website. So I'm going to go to the Biggerplate website and we're going to look together for a business plan template. So here we are, we're on the Biggerplate website. This is the landing page, and you can see that I'm logged in here. This is my account. You can see that I've chosen English as my language. You could also change it to another language if you want. I do speak French, but for the purposes of this demonstration, we're going to leave it in English. So I'm going to go to the search box here, and I'm going to type in business plan template, which is here. Press enter, and Biggerplate is going to search for all my maps that are business plan related. Fantastic. So the first one you'll see is an XMind business plan template. So you'll be able to see which software the mind map has been created in by looking down here. So we've got XMind here, XMind as I was demonstrating earlier, Mind Manager here, iMind Map. So that's how you can see the mind map software. You can see the person that's uploaded it here, and you can click on their name to see all the other mind maps that they've uploaded. So let's click on this XMind business plan template, and you think, oh great, that looks really good, that's really useful for me right now. You can either click on this button here which says download and download it for XMind, or you can download it for PDF. So just as a demonstration, I'm going to download the PDF for you here. And depending on where your downloads are on your computer, mine's down here on the left, I would click it and it would open as a PDF. So the downside about PDFs is that I then can't click on this and use it as I was doing earlier in the XMind one. I can't take the branches and add to them as I'd want to. So the best thing to do really is to download the actual file. So I'm going to use the XMind business plan template here, so that I can open it in XMind and show you how it works. So here's a great XMind template of a business plan. You can see how many times it's been downloaded, how many times it's been viewed. So I'm going to download for XMind here. And in a couple of moments, you should be able to see it's opened down here. So if I click on this, it will open. Fantastic. So now I'm in this business plan template, I'm free to use it as I wish. So I can, for example, add all the things here that have been named. So I can add a roof, I can add my phone number, and just add to it as if it were my own template. This person has kindly also left notes for us so that we can see what exactly we have to do for each branch. So list here any people and companies who have an important role in the success of the business. So if you downloaded this mind map and you thought, hang on a minute, what do these things refer to? This person has kindly left some notes to help us understand that. So that's a demonstration of how you would use the website to search for anything you might be looking for, how to download it, and how to basically manipulate it to your own use. Another way you can browse is to click on either of the tabs up here. So we've got business mind maps, education mind maps, or all mind maps. And in all mind maps you can look at the most popular. You can look at ones for business or education. So if you're just browsing, here you'll find the highest rated mind map. So this one here, irregular verbs in English, has been downloaded over 6,000 times. So really goes to show that it's a great mind map used for learning English irregular verbs for revision, for example. And just as I scroll down now, you can see the whole range. You've got things from grammar to personal organisers, managing projects, managing self. You've got things for business, things for productivity, all these great things that you're free to explore for yourself. So before I finish on Biggerplate, I'm just going to talk to you about our business club. So I'm just going to hop back over to our website here. The business club is an optional upgrade for you, and the idea behind this is to present to you ways in which businesses and people in business are using mind maps and how they're getting the most out of their mind map content and mind map use. So we have upcoming webinars. As you can see here, we've got a great range of speakers coming up, from everything to requirements engineering, supply chain management, We've got French webinars because we have a very large French community. We've got using mind maps for LinkedIn, time management, effective meetings, a whole range of really interesting webinars for you to listen to. And as a business club member, you can also look at these webinars on demand. So if you miss a webinar, or you want to have a look at what else we've got in the archive, you'll be able to go onto the Business Club archive and watch all these webinars. So for example, the one today will be uploaded onto Biggerplate, but you must be a Business Club member. You can upgrade for $29 per year, so it's very little, and this gives you access to our webinars, which are live and on demand, as I've just said. You get image packs, so we provide you with nice images that you can use in your mind maps. We will provide you with a curated list of business-related mind maps to stop you from having to search through the website, and we regularly have special offers for members of our business club. So I've shown you a demonstration there. That's our business club. So please do sign yourself up to the business club. There's some really great content there. And if you have any questions, now's the time. I'm going to hop over to the questions panel. So Marco, you've got a question here. Can I include URL or files? So I think you are referring to in a mind map itself, for example, in this. The answer is yes, you can, and I'll show you how to do that. So let's just hop back over to the weekly plan, and I'll just show you as an example. You right-click, and this is how it works on most mind map software. You can right-click, insert, attachment. So this is what you would use if you wanted to insert a file. But to answer your question, if you wanted to insert a URL, you click on hyperlink, and you'll be able to say, for example, biggerplate.com. And you see the symbol here, and within the mind map, you can click on it and go directly to the website that you've hyperlinked to. So Marco, I hope that answers your question. So I'm aware I've been speaking for a long time now. Are there any questions up until now before I say what you can do next? Please don't hesitate to answer any questions you might have. So what next? Well, it would be really great if you could join Biggerplate for free if you haven't already. It is free, as I said. And share your mind maps with us. You know, we're always really interested to see what kind of mind maps are being shared. If you go onto the new mind maps, it's really interesting to see just what kind of new ones we've got coming through. So we've got notes from presentations. These are from me, actually. I uploaded these this morning from a presentation that I went to last night. We have ones from engineering. So just have a browse and see what kind of mind maps are available. We went to an event in London last week and did loads of mind map notes there. You can have a look at our upcoming Business Club webinars here. So we see you've got a really good list. We also have meetups as well, which I was in Amsterdam last week, for example, hosting a meetup. So please do just get involved, explore, and share your mind maps. You can also connect with us, as I said earlier. We're on Twitter at Biggerplate. We're also on Facebook, biggerplate.com, and you'll see here I've inserted a URL so I can take you directly to our Facebook page. If you become a member of our business club, you can also be added to our private business club Facebook group. And if you speak French, we also have a French Facebook group for you to join. We're also on Instagram, so you can see what we're up to on a day-to-day basis, as well as seeing some cool mind maps that we share with you on Instagram, so you can follow us at Team Biggerplate. And please do feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. You can find me using Ruth Walker. So are there any other questions? Yes, I can see that there are. What about using colour and pictures in mind maps? That's from Marja. Thank you very much for your question. Very interesting point. So I'm going to hop back over to my XMind mind map here. So as you can see, this is a template that I'm using, but if I did want to change the colours, I can go over to the Properties banner here and change the colour. So I can either highlight everything and choose a style. For example, I might just choose a basic blue one here, and that changes everything to be blue. You can change the shape and border of the shapes, that you see here. So you might want to make everything in a diamond shape. like that. And again, you can fiddle with the size of the text, the font, the colour here, for example. So you might want to have everything in a nice green colour. And that should hopefully change everything green, as you can see. So where images are concerned, indeed, there are several ways in which you can add images. So you can either import directly from your desktop. So if you want to insert an image, you can insert from your own file, from a clip art, or from Icon Finder. But as you can see, these are pro features, which I do have, but they wouldn't come with a free version. So the clip art would allow you to look for files from the clip art, and Icon Finder is a website which has been integrated into the XMind software that you can choose there. But if you wanted to insert from a file, you would just do it the same way that you would for any of your other pictures. So I've got a nice picture of Amsterdam. I was there last week. So I just click on that and it's been inserted into my mind map. I hope that answers your question. I'm just going to go back to the questions pane now. Thank you. So I've got a question here from Jackie. Will you send out a recording to this session? Of course, the recording will be available on our YouTube page, on our Vimeo page, but also in the follow-up email that you get from GoToWebinar, you will have access to the recording of this webinar. I've had some really nice feedback from Marco and Jan. Thank you for the clear introduction. Thank you very much for listening as well. Wishing you all a great day. Are there any other questions or things that I haven't covered that you were hoping for me to cover? I'll just go back to our mind map here. Please feel free to email any questions if you have to ruth@biggerplate.com. Got a question coming in here, I believe. Oh, just Jackie saying thank you. Pleasure, Jackie. I hope it answered your question. I'm going to say there's no more questions, which is fine. As I say, this video will be available for re-watching afterwards. And if you do have any questions, please email me, ruth@biggerplate.com. I hope you found the webinar really useful. Please, as I say, join Biggerplate and explore the library. And I look forward to connecting with you or talking with you on social media again very soon. Thank you, Marco. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, everybody, for your positive feedback. It's been a real pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your day and good luck with all your mind mapping. Goodbye.